What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for Your Overwatch. The Lunar event is back. Live today, you can get access to new skins. We'll be taking a look at the cosmetics in the background while we recap this past week's news as well. A small patch, some community responses, and even another Overwatch 2 leak, along with the cosmetics, which include the free ones that you can get each week by getting 9 wins. Blizzard also added a brand new arcade game mode called Bounty Hunter, where the player that gets the first kill becomes the target and everyone else has to target them as bounty hunters, and you earn extra points by killing the target. This is a great type of mode, though I sort of wish they melded it with either like Mystery Heroes or my favorite mode, Hero Gauntlet, a little bit, because choosing your hero is a little OP in this kind of thing. But either way, as far as action is concerned, the incentive structure really makes for some entertaining arcade fun. Feels similar to other deathmatch modes that I've seen in the past, like Halo had a regicide mode that is kind of similar to this. And alongside this in the arcade, we also got Capture the Flag and Capture the Flag Blitz back into the arcade. In my opinion, Blitz is the far superior mode, where the flags are a little bit closer together, easier to cap, and the score limit's much higher. Normal CTF can be far too boom or bust with how either campy or snowbally it can be, but that's just my opinion. And the Lunar event is live today, ending on February 25th. Today's patch will add a change to the replay viewer, where you now have the option for fine-grained controls that allows you to increase or decrease the replay playback speed in smaller increments than just 1/4. All cool if you use the replay. Perhaps more important is getting the news out that I think a lot of players don't know this, but already on the live patch, Blizzard has already made a significant change to the priority pass, where losing a match while on the flex queue only nets you 1 priority pass. You used to get 2, now only 1, and also as well, if your queue time goes longer than expected, your pass will be refunded. So this means a couple things. 1, don't hit the flex queue and throw your game on purpose. It's way more efficient to try to win. You got to wait out the time of the match anyway. I mean, some say that if you lose, you should just get 0, but winning giving you 6 means it's very easy to stack up priority passes if you try to win, even on your off roll. So be a good community member and try your best. But the problem of off rolls, especially in the ranked environment, was a bit of a rocky transition, as the off roll MMR has never really been fixed in the roll queue system, where players on off rolls to their main rolls SR often are placed too close to their main roll and typically can't handle the level of competition while learning a new role. I wish that they treated different roles almost like entire different accounts, but I voiced this concern to Blizzard directly before they put the priority pass in place, and it didn't really feel like they made many adjustments, and it was a problem anyway. So I think from their perspective, they're just hoping players get enough games in and have their SR adjusted to fix this problem. But in my opinion, I think the soft boost you get with the expected SR based on an entirely different role just needs to be rethought. But perhaps that is a problem for Overwatch 2, not Overwatch 1. When asking you guys your reception of the priority pass system nearer the launch of it last month, our Twitter poll got a fairly lukewarm reception. With very muted language in this poll, only 63% said that the system helped matchmaking. Especially when you're dealing with a lot of off-roll MMR problems, you can see how players were not so glowing in their response to it. A recent poll I did today, though, framing the subject around the flexibility the priority pass awards a quick play only player that just wants to get a chance at DPS once in a while for once, that got a much warmer reception at 72% approval. However, even in quick play, all of this is going to be very MMR dependent. If you are at a outlier MMR, either on the low end or the high end, you may find the priority pass does more for you, and maybe the closer to the middle you are, the less you think it does anything. In my humble opinion, I think it is a very underrated change, but I also try to play all 3 roles. And if you only ever want to play DPS, your queue times just got longer. And now you do have to hit some flex queue, aka tank queue, because just about everyone else is going to be doing that. So just to maintain your normal queue time as a damage only player, you sort of have to flex. But at the same time, that affords a player like me the availability to sometimes get to play DPS. Moving on, another major Overwatch 2 leak came out where the Overwatch Genji voice actor admitted that he hasn't even recorded any lines for the sequel of the game yet. So at some point, with the overwhelming evidence, we're going to have to assume the standalone sequel aspect of Overwatch 2 is a ways out. I'm still fairly skeptical on what that means for Overwatch 1 expansion, because I don't think the dev team intended for a 2-year drought, and I'm very interested to see what gets announced at BlizzCon in order to handle this extended dry period for Overwatch 1 content. Are they going to hold what they said prior and stop adding things to Overwatch altogether? Well, they kind of broke that with the new map. Does that count? Does that indicate they may start adding more stuff to Overwatch 1 again? I don't know. I hope so, because it sure would be a letdown to have it announced that we won't have anything for either part of the sequel for an entire year. In any case, we're all waiting on the edge of our seats for BlizzCon Online. Blizzard has released a promo for the online event, which everybody can watch for free, but you also can get the typical mix of BlizzCon cosmetic goodies for your favorite Blizzard games. This year, Overwatch is getting a StarCraft Raynor Reinhardt skin called Reinhardt, which, listen, I'm a longtime StarCraft fan, so this just gives me goosebumps, and I can't help it. Shut up, Blizzard, take my money. I gotta have this skin. And one last very important bit of community news. This video tweet got 2.8 million views. Mega viral in the gaming space, bigger than the Overwatch community. Salty Freeman tweets out that his dad plays Overwatch like this, jerking around and peeking around corners, really getting his entire body into it. This clip being possibly one of the most wholesome and heartwarming things you've ever seen.
Oh, that was fun.
I'm on this side.
Oh, no!
Uh-huh.
Top 4 finish!
I really want to give him tips on his posture and aiming technique and how not to have so much wasted motion when he's playing, but he's clearly having fun, so maybe it's best not to ruin that. The voice actor for Lucio, Johnny Cruz, saw this clip and said he's honored. The original poster, Salty, replies in saying that his dad is a fan of Echoflex, who inspired him to play Lucio, and below is a emote from his stream. Echoflex is definitely an entertaining guy, and having played against him in Overwatch and witnessing an entire team be helpless against his Lucio, I will vouch, Echoflex is definitely a good spot to go to level up your Lucio gameplay or just see him clown on people. When Blizzard caught wind of the viral video, they got in touch with Lucio Dad to send him a care package that he's showing in this picture with some Lucio gear, including a hat. And since it came from Jonathan Spector, vice president at Overwatch League, I see he also got a jersey for what I assume is his favorite team, the San Francisco Shock. That's an easy one to pick, especially as they march forward into the next season looking for the three-peat. Last up for the news, my buddy SVB did a content creator pug stream where he tested out 3 different unique new Overwatch game modes or formats in order to try to mess with the Overwatch format and see what we can learn about the effects of different game modes with high-level competition. I believe all 12 streamers that were invited to the event are Grandmaster, so we can see what high-level players can do with these different rule sets. And SVB wrote up a formal, almost scientific report that he sent to Blizzard regarding the results of polls that he took on these players themselves, but also the viewers of everybody's Twitch stream that watched the gameplay. You can check out his video for a more detailed explanation of these findings, but in short, he tested 3 things. A very casual domination variant called Conquest that might be similar to like Battlefield Conquest, where it's sort of a mix between capturing and holding objectives while also getting eliminations. You get more points for an elimination if you have more flags. Seemed to be a consensus that it might be a fun arcade mode. But also, he tested a very rudimentary ban phase, which went over swimmingly, but perhaps because a lot of these top tier players have been stuck in meta hell, especially in a balance patch that is very punishing for picking the wrong characters. And tuning down the power of the game meant that a lot of middle tier picks could come out and be played in competition, and a lot of people had fun with it. Really liked it, almost universal praise, though it is a very small, distinct demographic and sample size. So take it with a grain of salt. I will say though, having been one of the first advocates of hero bans, was it 2 years ago? I don't know, I lost track by this point. Back then, I felt like I might have had like 30 to 40% community approval in the game needing that type of system. Now I feel it's swung the other way, where there's definitely a majority of community content creators, but also just players of the game, it feels like, that would be interested to see how this could be implemented if it was designed appropriately. No one has really found a compelling system that works for the 32 heroes we have now, but what's true is that being able to have agency against the meta forces is always going to be helpful when the game isn't nearly perfectly balanced, which we've had for maybe a few months of Overwatch's 4 years of existence. So feels pretty required if you want to have some variety at least the high tiers, but at any tier, just to be able to not have to deal with stuff that annoys you would definitely be a benefit. Overwhelming praise on that format. Though personally, I'm such a hipster that I'm already past the hero ban argument. I'm already on to my next thing, which, similar to hero bans, is fairly unpopular currently, mostly due, I think, because it's new and players haven't really figured out what the benefits are. But the first mode he tested in the stream was ultimates resetting on checkpoints, which is a very novel idea and has a few interesting results. You lose your ultimate on both sides whenever a checkpoint is captured, which this does is acts like a hard reset, basically exactly similar to how you get between control rounds, where you go to a completely different Koth map, where you have a chance to decompress, think about your strategy, counterpick a little bit, and prep for the next stage. The benefits of this is that there are far fewer ultimates in the game overall, which just makes the gameplay easier to digest from at least an esports perspective, makes a higher crescendo of ultimates as everyone's kind of building them at the same rate. So rather than having very high impact fight turning ultimates throughout multiple fights, they sort of crescendo into one big bang and everyone's throwing ultimates out. And another incentive to that is because you know you're going to lose your ultimate on the checkpoint anyway, you might as well take a risk on a gamble play with it, which I think just makes the gameplay far better. I was totally blown away by the results of this because the goals of this format was intended to allow you to swap in between stages of the map. This is a problem that's been brought up by Overwatch League coaches and players especially, where ult economy is more important than counterpicking, so the meta of Overwatch typically revolves around it. So much so that as soon as I saw gameplay without ult reset on checkpoint, I'm like, wow, keeping your ults between checkpoints feels terrible because it dictates so much of your success. This is the reason why when you capture a point A, typically nobody can hold point B. It's very rare because the team that has a snowballing advantage rolls that into the next fight and typically wins. And then conversely, there is a overextended bias for defending teams on point C because it's so easy to rotate ults defensively around all the C points in the game due to you having the respawn advantage at that point. Now, I will say the players in the stream did not like this mode, at least overall, leaned towards disliking it more than liking it. But I think if we were to study it more, as I did, I was in the spectator booth with SVB during this, seeing it from the third person perspective, it immediately fixes so many of Overwatch's problems, in my opinion. Now, would the game have to be entirely rebalanced around it? Or maybe this concept needs to be rethought entirely? Yes, fine. But for Overwatch 2, something like this would definitely help. It almost forces you to go for clutch retakes on checkpoints with the resources you have, rather than playing what I think is a very boring, methodical, like camp out on the next phase with your ultimate. That's not cool. Whereas with this mode, we forced players to rush in to try to make heroic plays, and it had very entertaining results. As opposed to seeing a team hold for 6 minutes on C or Anubis B, just cycling their 2 ultimates every time. Like, that entire system to me is incredibly lame. And I didn't realize how much I disliked it until I saw it fixed. But that's just me. This is something that maybe we'll have to think about a little bit more in depth in future, but it's a concept that I'm most excited about for a few reasons. It adds a little bit more opportunity to counterpick, perhaps too much, because you also can just wait and spawn with no ultimate anyway, just holding tab counterpicking the enemy. Like, that would probably have to be rethought how that works. But I think trying to figure out how to make counterpicking actually good at a high level is way more interesting than the system we currently have, which is always pick the best character, play efficiently with their ultimates, and most of the game revolves around that. But that's just one man's humble opinion. That's some fairly deep stuff that probably deserves a more detailed explanation. But that's all we'll discuss for today. I'm going to go off now to work on more Your Overwatch videos to make sure that you do not miss out on them. Click the bell icon to get push notifications through your cell phone so you don't miss out on upcoming content. Click the link in the description to check out our Twitter, where we've been upping our dank meme game in 2021. Here's one I posted giving my thoughts on the current state of the tank meta in season 26. Feels fairly accurate to me. Got more video breakdowns on how to adjust to this current Overwatch meta coming soon, so you don't want to miss out on those. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for Your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.